At an altitude of thousands of meters above the Earth, passengers increasingly become witnesses to moments that, logically, simply should not exist. Cameras capture things that go beyond the ordinary. Strange creatures seemingly clinging to airplane wings, glowing objects hiding in the clouds, and shapes that cannot be attributed to any known species. All of this looks too unreal to be true, but at the same time, too clear to be dismissed as an illusion. And if you look closely at these frames, it becomes clear. After seeing this, flights will never again seem as safe and understandable as before. Before we begin, I will ask you to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. This will help me a lot in promoting the videos. Enjoy watching. Sometimes it seems that if we do not see something, it means it does not exist. But one of the passengers was convinced of the opposite. Looking out the window, he noticed 3 huge glowing objects among the clouds. They were so large that it seemed as if part of them was hidden inside the clouds. Their light was soft but powerful, and their movements were slow and confident. They did not disappear immediately, did not flicker. They just stayed there, as if they were watching. This moment left the feeling that much more could be happening in the sky than we are able to notice. What was filmed in the year 2009 still raises questions, even among the most skeptical viewers. One of the passengers captured a huge object among the clouds, the shape of which resembled a star. It was not just located in the sky. It was hovering, completely motionless, as if ignoring any laws of physics. Its dimensions were striking, because it looked much larger than any known flying machine. What was especially disturbing was that everything happened in daylight, without any distortions or darkness. It did not look like an illusion. And this is exactly what makes the recording one of the most disturbing among all similar cases. Sometimes a mystery turns out to be not as deep as it seems at first glance. In one of the videos taken from on board an airplane, you can see a dark trail stretching across the sky. The person who recorded this was sure that he had witnessed the flight of an unidentified flying object. And indeed, from a certain angle, it looked unusual. But upon closer inspection, it becomes clear this is smoke left by another airplane flying at a distance. This case became a reminder of how easy it is to make a mistake when observing the sky from a limited perspective. One of the most disturbing real incidents occurred on board an Asiana Airlines airplane in South Korea. A 33-year-old passenger opened the emergency exit right during the flight, when the airplane was already coming in for a landing. The altitude was about 213 meters, and the sudden opening of the door caused a powerful rush of air to burst into the cabin. People found themselves in a panic. Their belongings were flying around, and some experienced severe breathing problems. 9 passengers were hospitalized. Later, the man explained his action by a feeling of suffocation and severe discomfort. He was detained for violating aviation safety, but this case became one of the most frightening reminders of how fragile safety on board can be. During a flight over Florida, one of the passengers noticed a strange shape among the clouds. At first, it looked like a part of the cloud structure, but upon a closer look, it became clear it is an object intentionally hiding itself. Its surface was smooth. Its shapes were too perfect to be random. It looked like technology significantly ahead of everything known to humanity. The object remained motionless, as if observing, before dissolving among the clouds. During a test flight of a fighter jet, a pilot encountered a phenomenon that defies logic. A glowing object resembling a bright sphere appeared next to the airplane. It moved faster than the fighter jet itself, while not making a single sound. Its movement was absolutely smooth, without signs of engines or thrust. This moment became one of those that question the boundaries of modern technologies. Another pilot, being at a high altitude, also noticed a glowing object rapidly crossing the sky. Its movement was light and precise, as if it did not experience any resistance. Later, it became known that a similar phenomenon had already been observed earlier by another pilot. Whether this is a coincidence or a pattern remains unknown, but one thing is clear. Much more is happening in the sky than we are used to thinking. An ordinary look out the window of an airplane turned into an unexpected discovery. A woman noticed a powerful glow in the clouds, which at first she mistook for the reflection of a sunset. But after just a few seconds, it became clear, this is something else. The light was too concentrated, too even, and had no visible source. It was located at such an altitude where familiar explanations simply stop working. The object did not move, did not flicker, but just hung in space, creating a feeling of complete control over what was happening. This spectacle was mesmerizing, and at the same time caused internal tension, making one think about what might be hiding among the clouds. A trip to Mexico was supposed to be the beginning of an exciting adventure for one passenger, filled with expectations and stories about mysterious places. But everything changed even before boarding. Looking out the porthole, he noticed something strange on the wing of the airplane. In the darkness, it was difficult to make out the details, but one feeling did not leave. It did not look like an ordinary object. The shape, the method of holding on, the very presence at such an altitude, everything seemed wrong. It created the impression as if it was a living creature, adapted for flight. And just as suddenly as it appeared, it disappeared, leaving behind only a disturbing feeling and questions to which it is impossible to find an answer. These frames captured a tense and truly disturbing moment, filmed from on board a small airplane. Already from the first seconds, it becomes clear the situation goes beyond the norm. Instead of being inside the cabin, a person turns out to be outside, secured only by his own hands and equipment. He is not preparing for a jump in the usual way. He steps out onto the wing and holds onto its surface, while the airplane continues moving forward. The size of the airplane and its relatively low speed only enhance the feeling of vulnerability. Every moment seems stretched out, because even the slightest movement or vibration could become critical. However, later it turns out that we are facing not a random person, but a professional who has been practicing such extreme stunts for years. And although the situation looks frightening, everything ends safely. The parachute allows him to land safely, leaving behind frames that are hard to forget. If earlier dragons existed only in legends and cinema, then this case makes one doubt this statement. During a trip across China, a tourist claimed to have witnessed something incredible. A huge creature resembling a dragon moving among the clouds, its long body smoothly cut through the sky, creating the feeling as if it was in its natural environment. The movements were too harmonious to be random, and too real to be written off as imagination. This moment made him rethink everything he considered fiction, and think about how thin the line is between myth and reality. In October of the year 2025, during a flight from Texas to California, passengers noticed unusual lights outside the windows of the airplane. Several light sources were moving at high speed, but one stood out among them, larger and brighter, as if it was controlling the rest. Their speed was faster than the airplane, and for a moment it seemed that a collision was inevitable. The tension inside the cabin became palpable, but just as suddenly as they appeared, the lights disappeared as if they were never there. People were left in complete silence, trying to understand whether they left on their own or were part of something bigger. Flights rarely go without tense situations, but this flight from New York to California turned out to be especially disturbing. It all started with the fact that one of the passengers went out to the toilet and upon returning began to behave completely differently. His movements became sharp, his sounds became strange and unnatural. The people around could not understand what was happening. It did not look like ordinary stress or fatigue. The behavior seemed like something much deeper and inexplicable. The atmosphere in the cabin changed, the tension grew, and it still remains unknown what exactly happened to him at that moment behind the closed door. During a flight over Antarctica, passengers became witnesses to a phenomenon that broke out of all familiar frameworks. A light spectacle unfolded outside the portholes, which could not be compared with ordinary natural effects. These were not just lights. They moved purposefully and approached too close to the airplane. So close that a feeling of a threat arose. Never before had such objects found themselves so close to a passenger aircraft. The tension inside the cabin grew with every second. People expected the worst. But after a few moments, the light began to move away and disappeared. Only a feeling of anxiety and the understanding that they had become witnesses to something that defies explanation remained. A group of specialists was on board a helicopter when something happened in the sky that was impossible to ignore. A bright pink flash suddenly lit up everything around, as if it instantly changed the atmosphere itself. Seconds later, a shape resembling something living or mechanical burst out of the clouds and rushed downwards with incredible speed. Its movement was too sharp and precise for a natural phenomenon. Everyone who was on board was puzzled by what was happening. Despite the fact that the object remained at a distance, the feeling of the wrongness of what was happening did not leave. A thought arose that this could be something that had gone out of control. Sometimes even familiar things can look frightening if they manifest themselves differently. Passengers at first thought they were observing ordinary clouds, but then the sky under the airplane began to glow with a strange orange light. This glow gradually intensified, illuminating the clouds from below, which looked unusual and disturbing. Some began to film what was happening, others simply froze, trying to comprehend what they saw. Later, specialists explained this as a sunset effect, but by no means everyone agreed with this. The light seemed alive, as if it was not just reflecting but coming from something hidden under the clouds. The flight seemed absolutely ordinary, until something strange happened. From under the top panel, right above the seats, small but distinctly visible legs appeared. At first, the passengers decided that this was a play of light or a shadow, but the movement was too clear. The legs moved, as if something was making its way inside the structure of the airplane. The tension in the cabin grew. People began to take out their phones and record what was happening. And just as suddenly as it started, everything disappeared. But the feeling that something unknown could have been inside the airplane did not leave the witnesses for a long time. Recently in the sky over California, a creature was spotted that is difficult to attribute to anything known. It had no wings, had no clear body shape, but at the same time moved smoothly and confidently. Its structure resembled long tentacles that helped it stay in the air. The strangest thing is that it remained in one place for a long time. Some eyewitnesses claimed that during the observation, they felt a strange immobility, as if time had slowed down for a moment. Later, the object disappeared, but left behind a question that still remains unanswered. One of the passengers, looking out the window, noticed several glowing dots in the sky. At first they seemed random, but soon it became clear they are moving in strict order. It was a whole group of objects moving synchronously, like a single system. They did not react to the airplane, did not change course, just continued their movement above the clouds. It looked too organized to be a random phenomenon. And when they disappeared, leaving no trace, it became obvious. The answers to such observations are still ahead. An ordinary flight suddenly turned into a tense moment when one of the passengers noticed something right outside the window. Having approached, he saw an object hovering practically close to the airplane. It did not move chaotically. It was simply located nearby, as if observing. Fear forced him to stop filming, because at that moment it seemed that the situation could go out of control. A few seconds later, the object began to move away and disappeared, leaving only questions behind itself. Sometimes even experienced pilots encounter things that are impossible to explain. Over San Francisco, one of them noticed an airplane that simply froze in the air. It did not move, did not change position, as if time around it had stopped. The camera continued to record, But the situation did not change. It looked like a glitch in reality, as if the system itself had malfunctioned. This case became one of those that make one doubt the familiar perception of the world. In one of the cases, the observation occurred not in the sky, but on the ground. But this did not make it any less strange. A man walking through the forest noticed an object in the air that did not look like any known technology. It was hovering in place, as if observing what was happening. Its shape seemed alien, as if it was created for a different environment. After a short time, the object disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared. This moment made one think that observation can take place not only from our side. Even if the sky seems empty, this does not mean that there is nothing there. One of the passengers reported that he noticed a disc-shaped object partially hidden in the clouds. It was not completely visible, as if intentionally hiding. Its position looked too precise to be random. It created the feeling that it was observing, remaining out of the field of vision of the majority. And if this is so, the question arises, how many more similar objects remain unnoticed? In the year 2019, a case appeared that is difficult to attribute to ordinary observations. A vlogger entered the airplane, recording a video, and noticed that the cabin was completely empty. He thought that he simply turned out to be the first passenger. But later, when viewing the recording, he discovered something strange. From behind a seat, a figure resembling a person peeked out for a moment. At that moment, he did not notice it, but the video caused a wave of discussions. Old rumors surfaced about a tragic incident that had occurred on this aircraft. Many are sure that the camera captured something more than just an accident. Some flights are remembered not for turbulence, but for what is happening inside the cabin. On one of the American Airlines flights, a passenger suddenly began to behave extremely strangely. His behavior was aggressive and chaotic. He growled, made sounds not similar to human ones, argued with the crew, moved around the cabin as if having lost control over himself. The atmosphere quickly became tense. People felt that this was going beyond the bounds of a normal situation. Some started talking about something inexplicable. After landing, he was led out of the airplane, but the feeling of anxiety did not leave those who were nearby for a long time. Since childhood, many imagined that something huge and unknown might be hiding above the clouds. One of the passengers claims that he saw confirmation of these thoughts. Looking out the window, he noticed two huge figures standing right on the clouds. They looked like giant silhouettes, motionless and silent. This spectacle seemed absolutely impossible, but at the same time too clear to ignore it. The feeling was as if something bigger than just air was hiding under the clouds. Sometimes strange things begin where you expect them the least. Patrolman Francisco Hernandez was finishing his shift when he heard a suspicious noise coming from an airplane. Having decided to check the source of the sound, he went inside with a flashlight, but what he saw made him freeze. A shadow flashed in the dark cabin, as if someone was watching from around the corner. The doors slammed by themselves, creating the feeling that someone else was present in the airplane. Despite the late hour and the finished shift, he continued the inspection, following protocol. But what he experienced left behind a feeling that sometimes the inexplicable can manifest itself where you feel safe. One of the flights from Dallas to Orlando unexpectedly turned into chaos when one of the female passengers began to behave extremely emotionally. She claimed that one of the people on board was not real. Her words caused confusion and fear among other passengers. The situation quickly heated up. The crew tried to restore order, but the tension had already spread throughout the entire cabin. Some consider this a manifestation of severe stress. Others, something much more strange. This case instantly spread across the internet and still remains a subject of disputes. A story that makes one think about how deceptive familiar reality can be. A pilot of a private airplane heading towards Mexico noticed a glowing ring of saturated blue color in the sky. It moved calmly and did not resemble either a cloud or a reflection. Shocked by what he saw, He immediately started recording. The video caused a strong reaction. Some called it a portal, others, a possible manifestation of unknown technologies. But whatever it is called, the fact remains a fact. It is difficult to fit such a phenomenon into the framework of the familiar world. During a flight over the Aegean Sea, passengers noticed a strange dark object moving next to the airplane. Its trajectory was smooth, but at the same time, it suddenly changed direction, which completely contradicts the behavior of known flying machines. It stayed close for some time, as if reacting to the presence of the airplane, and then disappeared. The video quickly spread, and many are sure that it was something more than just an unidentified object. In December of the year 2012, an event occurred that is still discussed by those who saw it. During a private event over a Disney park, a huge dragon appeared. It moved in the sky, flapping its wings, and its appearance was so realistic that the boundary between the show and reality disappeared. Despite the fact that it was part of a special event, many still perceive this as something much more mysterious. In the Scottish woods, a tourist stumbled upon a place that in itself looked mysterious, an abandoned castle hidden among the trees. But a real surprise awaited him further. A creature resembling a dragon appeared in the sky, with huge wings and a long tail. It moved gracefully, as if it was a part of this place. This moment turned an ordinary exploration into an encounter with something that is difficult to explain. Residents of Indianapolis became witnesses to a scene that looked like a frame from a movie. From the roof of a building, a figure resembling a person with huge wings rose into the sky. It pushed off and smoothly disappeared into the distance. This spectacle caused many theories, from secret experiments to something much more unusual, but not a single version has yet given a final answer. A man in Peru, returning home after a hard day, noticed a shape in the sky resembling an angel. It was clear and calm, as if it appeared exactly for him. This moment changed his state. The anxiety went away, giving way to calmness. Regardless of the nature of this phenomenon, it left a strong emotional trace. In North Carolina, on one of the evenings, strange lights appeared in the clouds. At first they looked like an ordinary glow, but then a dark figure began to manifest inside them. Its shape was constantly changing, transitioning from a human one to a completely incomprehensible one. It was impossible to capture its final appearance. This only intensified the feeling that something unknown is hiding in the clouds. In the year 2019 in Florida, an object was spotted that did not have a clear shape. It was as if in the process of changing, constantly transforming. People watched it with anxiety, not understanding what exactly was happening. Then it simply disappeared, leaving only questions behind itself. One fisherman found himself far out at sea, where he became a witness to an unusual phenomenon. A huge smoke-like structure rose from the water, slowly moving up towards the clouds. It looked too massive and purposeful to be a natural phenomenon. This created the feeling that something hidden from human understanding is happening. In one of the videos, the source of which remains unknown, a figure resembling a person was spotted among the clouds. It moved not like any known creature, and this made what was happening even more strange. People began to put forward different versions, but none of them explained what was seen completely. While spending the night in the forest, a man noticed strange lights appearing in the sky. They formed patterns, creating a feeling of something unusual. Frightened, he left the place. Later it turned out that these were fireflies using bioluminescence. This case became a reminder that sometimes even the most mysterious phenomena have a simple explanation. In Dubai, a tourist became a witness to a phenomenon that looked absolutely impossible. An object resembling a huge container hovered in the sky. Its shape was too clear to be an illusion. It did not move, did not change, just stayed there. This caused fear and bewilderment, because it is impossible to fit something like this into the framework of familiar reality. And if after all this it seems to you that the sky is just emptiness, perhaps you have not looked closely enough yet. Subscribe so as not to miss new discoveries that can change your perception of reality. Do not forget to leave likes and subscribe to the channel. And for now, we offer you to watch our videos that have appeared on the screen right now.